Surprisingly, over 90% of viewers haven't subscribed yet. If you're enjoying the content, hit that subscribe button. It motivates us to keep creating and helps us never miss an upload. The night she called me controlling, I was spooning soup into a bowl and trying not to sound like a detective. "You said the client dinner was at 7, I said lightly. "It's nearly 11. Do you want me to heat something?" Maya dropped her tote by the door like it weighed as much as a verdict. "You're doing it again," she sighed, loosening the scarf at her neck. "It was work. We have a launch. Stop interrogating me. You're acting like I need a hall pass." "I asked if you were hungry," I said. I kept my voice low because I've learned volume never wins. "That's all." She laughed once, sharp. "No. You asked why I was late. Again. You're not my father, Ethan. You're my husband. Try trusting me." I looked at the dark window and my reflection looking back. "I'm trying," I said. It was true. Trying had been my full-time job for months. Maya works in brand partnerships at a tech company where every ordinary thing gets a shiny name. She used to be home by 8, telling funny stories about a designer who wrote emails like poems or a copywriter who treated commas like pets. Lately, the stories had been replaced by a rotating set of reasons. Crisis meetings, last-minute rehearsals, a VP who needed the deck perfect by morning. Her phone learned to sleep face down. Her charger moved from the bedroom to the office. When I reached for a hug at midnight, she smelled like a hotel lobby, expensive and anonymous. I told myself it was a season. Every couple endures one. I kept cooking, kept fixing the loose knob on the hallway cabinet, kept taking Bean, our small, judgmental rescue dog, around the block in the drizzle. But doubt is like a slow leak. You don't hear it, you only see the stain. It was Bean, actually, who gave me the moment. One Thursday, I took him for his evening lap just as Maya texted, "Running late. Live mock at 9, don't wait up." I thumbed back a heart and slid my phone into my pocket. Bean dragged me past the driveway to the curb, where I noticed something odd. The car was gone. Of course it was. Maya had driven that morning. But when I walked back inside, I saw her key fob on the hook. A small, normal thing. The kind you ignore when trust is fat and ignore at your peril when trust is thin. I opened the app our dealership had insisted we download when we bought the car, the one I used exactly once to remote start in winter. It had a tab I'd never noticed. Trips. A simple list. Date, start time, end time, miles, a tiny map. I tapped the most recent entry. A line arced across the city like a tossed ribbon, ending not at her office, not at the downtown hotel she sometimes used for conferences, but at the Marigold, a boutique place near the river with velvet chairs and a bar that always smelled like oranges. My thumb hovered. I told myself I was being dramatic. I told myself there was a rooftop mixer, a vendor meet, any number of plausible reasons. I pinched the map to zoom. The blue line stopped in the private garage beneath the building. Duration, 3/12 meter. The app didn't lie. It also didn't explain. It simply offered a compass rose and a silence I could pour anything into. The next night, I didn't mention it. I asked about her day and told her Bean had befriended a toddler in dinosaur pajamas. She nodded, half listening, half living somewhere behind the rectangle of light in her hand. I washed dishes while a plan assembled itself exactly the way my designs at work do. One box, then a line, then another box. Not an ambush, a record. I am a product designer by trade. When something creaks, I map the joints. When a pattern hides, I plot it. So I opened a new spreadsheet. I copied the last 90 days of trips from the app and pasted them into cells that made the intangible tangible. Addresses, timestamps, miles. Then I did what I do for a living. I looked for clusters. The Marigold appeared once a week, then twice. Rookery Garage showed up every other Thursday, 2 blocks from an apartment tower I'd never noticed. Oak Third appeared in a cluster of late-night arrivals and departures, never before 10, never after 1. Every time she'd said, blocked into a team dinner, the blue line ended at one of those 3 places. I didn't sleep much. The next morning, I went through the last 6 months of my calendar and cross-referenced them with hers. The pattern didn't wobble, it doubled down. I printed a city map at the copy shop in a size that made the clerk raise an eyebrow. "Big project?" he asked. "Yeah," I said. "Something like that." I bought a pack of red map pins and a ball of thin string. On the way home, I grabbed Bean a chew to make up for ignoring him the night before. He forgave me instantly. Dogs do. That afternoon, I called my friend Priya under the pretense of borrowing her ladder. Priya has the kind of brain that can smell data without seeing it. "You sound like you're holding your breath," she said. "Long week," I answered. "Do you know anything about our car app's retention window?" She didn't ask why. 30 days by default, she said. 60 if you opt in on the web. You can export a CSV hidden behind a hamburger menu. "Want me to send you a little script to plot it prettier?" I swallowed. "I can handle it." "Okay," she said gently. "Breathe anyway." I exported everything and built my own map. Every trip a point, every point a color, every color a story. Red was the Marigold. Blue was Oak Third. Yellow was a storage unit near the freeway she'd never mentioned. The lines between them looked like a constellation you could only see if you stepped back and turned off your favorite lie. I didn't stop there. I visited my own insurer's portal and printed the claims page. 2 Cairo visits I didn't know about. A billing address change Maya forgot to mention and then corrected a week later. Innocent mistakes stack up like bricks until a wall appears where a doorway used to be. That evening, while a pot of rice sighed on the stove, Maya texted that she'd be late again. "New VP wants an extra pass on the deck." I thumbed back. "Got it. Be safe." Then I remote-checked the car. Parked. Rookery garage. My stomach did an odd thing. Dipped, then steadied, like a plane finding smooth air after turbulence. There's a relief in the truth, even when it hurts. You can put your feet on it. At 9, I drove to the hardware store and bought a second lamp for the dining room, the kind that floods the table with even light. On the way back, I passed the Marigold's glowing sign. The valet stand was empty. I kept driving. I didn't call. I didn't confront. I ironed the big map so it would lie flat, taped it to the dining table, and set the pins gently. 1, 2, 3. I ran string between them until the pattern looked like what it was, a habit pretending to be chaos. Next to the map, I placed the printed pages, trips, times, addresses. I didn't circle anything. I didn't write captions. Juries hate editorializing. Bean jumped onto the bench and tilted his head at the cartography of our life. "I know, buddy," I said. "Me too." At 10:41, Maya texted, "Pushing through. Don't wait up. Save me some rice?" At 10:43, the car refreshed, still parked at Rookery. I poured myself water, set 2 glasses on the table, one for me, one for her, and sat in the chair my father gave us as a housewarming gift. The second lamp painted the map in quiet daylight. It looked almost beautiful, like a city planning exhibit. If you didn't know what it cost, you'd compliment it. Around midnight, the garage dot moved. The blue line crawled toward our side of town. Bean hopped down and pattered to the door, nails clicking like a metronome. My hands felt oddly steady. I wasn't hunting a confession. I already had one. I wanted something cleaner. Silence arranged as evidence. Her key turned. The door opened. She stepped in on a gust of perfume and winter air, smiling on autopilot. "You're up," she said, toeing off her shoes. Then she saw the table. Her smile didn't fall. It stalled. She looked at the pins, the strings, the printed roots. Her eyes flicked to the second glass of water, then to my face. I didn't speak. I let the room talk first. "What?" she said, voice small. "Is this?" "The last 90 days, I answered. "In your car." She didn't look at the map again. She looked everywhere else. The ceiling, the dog, the space beyond the window where our yard sleeps. Anywhere but the red dots clustered like a rash around the hotel by the river. "You're out of control," she said, breathless, reaching for the only rope she'd practiced. "This is insane, Ethan. You're being paranoid. This is unhealthy." "I'm done being accused of paranoia by a picture," I said softly. Her throat worked. The coat stayed on her shoulders like armor she forgot to strip. "You went through my phone?" "No," I said. "Through our car." "That's worse," she snapped, finding a little heat. "God, you're controlling. Do you hear yourself?" Bean sneezed. The lamp hummed. Our fridge clicked into a cycle. "Sit," I said, not raised, not pleading, steady, like a teacher opening a book. Drink some water. Then tell me which of these addresses is the office." She didn't sit. She didn't drink. She stood there vibrating like a wire pulled too tight. And I understood, with the calm that only arrives after a storm spends itself, that this was no longer a debate. It was a reading. I had set a map in front of us, and maps don't argue, they point. "Tomorrow," I said, sliding an envelope halfway across the table. "I'm meeting with Miss Hart at 10. She's very good at paperwork." "What paperwork?" she whispered, as if the word could shrink by speaking softly. "The kind that protects what's left of me," I answered. "You can come sit beside me and tell the truth. Or you can stand across from me and explain the red pins." For a long minute, neither of us moved. Then she reached for the chair as if her knees had remembered gravity. "We'll talk," she said, staring at the water she hadn't touched. "Just not tonight." "Tonight is over," I said. "Talking starts in the morning." She nodded once, tiny, the way people nod when they're not agreeing so much as accepting weather. She walked down the hall without looking back. The bedroom door closed softly. Bean hopped into my lap, heavy with dog empathy. I looked at the strings, the bright little dots that made a pattern nobody wants to admit to. The map didn't care if I hurt. It simply showed where the car had gone when I wasn't invited. I turned off the lamp, left the second glass on the table, and sat in the dark long enough to feel the shape of the room without seeing it. When I finally stood, the chair legs whispered against the floor like advice. "Keep it quiet. Keep it clean." In the morning, I would. I barely slept that night. The house felt heavier than ever, like the walls had absorbed our silence and didn't know what to do with it. Bean snored at the foot of the couch, his paws twitching in dreams. Around dawn, I stood, stretched, and poured myself coffee. The map still covered the dining table, strings crisscrossing like scars. Her untouched glass of water glinted in the pale light. At 7, the bedroom door opened. Maya walked in, her hair messy, her sweater pulled tight around her. She looked like someone bracing for a sentence she already knew. She sat across from me, eyes avoiding the map, and whispered, "Are you really meeting a lawyer today?" "Yes," I said evenly. "Ethan, please. This is insane. You're blowing things out of proportion." I gestured to the pins. "These are not proportions. They're places, repeated places. Places you didn't tell me about." Her jaw tightened. "You don't understand. Work has been crazy. Sometimes we meet clients off-site." I slid a printout across the table. The marigold, timestamps, durations, 11 trips. "Were the clients staying overnight?" I asked calmly. Her mouth opened, then closed. "This isn't me interrogating." "You," I said. "This is me giving you a chance to tell the truth before the paperwork does." For a long time, the only sound was the refrigerator cycling. Finally, she whispered, "It's not what you think." "It never is," I replied. She clenched her fists. "Fine. Yes, I met someone. But it's not serious. It was just... I don't even know how it started. It was fun at first, an escape, that's all." I didn't flinch. "His name?" She looked at the table, voice barely audible. "Daniel, he's in consulting. We met through work." "How long?" 8 months, she admitted, her shoulders slumping. "But it's not like I was planning to leave you. It was just... a distraction." The word landed heavier than a confession, a distraction. I thought of the nights I made dinner, walked the dog, kept the house together while she was gone. I thought of the baby names we once scribbled in notebooks, the vacations we dreamed about but postponed. And in her head, I had been just the background noise while she entertained herself. "I see," I said quietly. She reached for my hand, but I pulled it back. "Ethan, please, don't throw this away. We can work through it. I'll end it with him. It's done. It meant nothing." I stood, carried my mug to the sink, and rinsed it. "You called me controlling for asking questions. You called me paranoid. But all the while, you were lying. That's not nothing." Tears pooled in her eyes. "I was scared. I didn't want to lose you." "You lost me when you chose him," I said simply. At 10 sharp, I walked into Ms. Hart's office. She was calm, efficient, the kind of lawyer who carried truth like a scalpel. I slid the GPS reports across her desk. She scanned them, nodding. "This is strong evidence," she said. "Patterns, frequency, documentation. It establishes dishonesty clearly. Do you want to pursue divorce immediately?" I exhaled. "Yes, quietly, no shouting, no chaos, just clean." "Good," she replied. "We'll file under irreconcilable differences. With this data, we can negotiate favorable terms. Do you want to contest assets?" I thought about it. "Only what's fair. I don't want revenge and money. I want peace." She smiled faintly. "That's the sharpest revenge there is." That afternoon, I returned home. Maya was on the couch, red-eyed, clutching a pillow like it might save her. "Did you do it?" she asked. "Yes," I said. Her lip trembled. "Ethan, please, don't. We've built a life. We can fix this." I sat across from her. "Do you know what fixing is? It's honesty. Fixing is coming home when you say you will. Fixing is laughing with me instead of at me. Fixing is not making me feel like a fool in my own marriage. You stopped fixing a long time ago." She broke then, sobs shaking her frame. I didn't reach out. For years I had patched every crack she ignored. Now the cracks were hers to face. Over the next week, the process began. Papers were drafted. Accounts were separated. Friends reached out, some shocked, others suspiciously unsurprised. Maya's affair partner faded quickly when she told him I knew. One night she admitted bitterly, "He blocked me, said he doesn't do drama." I only nodded. The GPS app became my quiet companion. Each time I looked at it, I felt both pain and clarity. It had given me the truth she never would have. When the day came for her to move out, she packed slowly, dragging out every moment. She lingered in the kitchen, tracing her hand over the counter where we once baked bread together. "I never thought it would end like this," she whispered. "Neither did I said. "But endings write themselves when you stop showing up for the middle." She cried again, begged for another chance. I stayed silent. Bean sat at my feet, his head resting on my shoe, steady and loyal in a way she had forgotten how to be. When the door closed behind her for the last time, I walked to the dining table, rolled up the map and slid it into a box. Not as evidence anymore, just as a reminder. A reminder that the truth doesn't need shouting, it just needs light. And when light finally hit, she couldn't face the reflection. The weeks after Maya left felt strangely quiet, almost unnervingly so. No late-night arguments, no forced small talk, no waiting at the window for headlights that came too late. The house breathed differently, as if even the walls were relieved not to hold lies anymore. At first, I thought the silence would crush me, but slowly, it steadied me. I began cooking real meals again, not just quick reheats. I took Bean on longer walks. I slept deeply, without waking up to an empty side of the bed that smelled like someone else's perfume. Maya, meanwhile, spiraled. She called, she texted, she emailed. Sometimes she begged, "Please, Ethan, don't give up on us. We can go to counseling. I'll prove to you it's over with him." Other times, she accused, "You're just throwing away years for nothing. Everyone has mistakes." Once she screamed into the phone, "You think you're better than me now?" and hung up before I could answer. I didn't reply to any of it. Silence was my answer. Ms. Hart guided me through every step. We divided assets. She ensured my name stayed clean on finances. When Maya tried to push for more, claiming she'd given the best years of her life, Ms. Hart slid the GPS reports across the mediation table. Maya went pale. Her lawyer leaned in, whispering frantically, and within minutes the fight drained out of her. The divorce papers were signed within 3 months. Clean, efficient, final. I thought that would be the end. But endings, I learned, often echo. A month later, Priya forwarded me a screenshot of an article from a business blog. It was about Maya's company, about Daniel, the man she'd risked everything for. Turns out his consulting firm had been audited, and his name was tangled in a web of bad contracts and disappearing clients. "The whole branch is under review," Priya wrote. "Guess who was the liaison on half those accounts? Maya." It didn't take long before her name started circulating in whispers. She called me once more, her voice broken, saying, "They're cutting me loose after everything I gave them." I didn't answer. I let the voicemail sit in my inbox, a relic. One Saturday, I ran into her downtown by accident. She was carrying grocery bags, walking fast, head down. When she saw me, she froze. For a moment, she looked like she might come over, but then she just stared. Her eyes were hollow, Her shoulders slumped, nothing like the woman who once laughed at me for acting paranoid. She opened her mouth as if to speak, then thought better of it. I nodded politely and kept walking. Bean tugged the leash, eager to keep moving. That night, as I sat at the dining table, the same table where I once spread out the map, I thought about the journey. How she'd called me controlling for asking questions. How she mocked my concern as paranoia. How she built a double life on excuses and thought I'd never check. And how in the end, it wasn't my anger that destroyed her. It was the truth she couldn't run from. She had gambled everything, our marriage, her career, her reputation, on secrecy. I didn't expose her publicly. I didn't scream. I didn't humiliate her in front of friends or colleagues. I just laid the facts in the open and stepped aside. Her own choices did the rest. In the months that followed, I rebuilt. I reconnected with old friends. I took Bean on road trips. I finally started sketching designs again, something I had neglected for years, while trying to hold together a marriage that was already unraveling. Maya faded into the background of my life, a name that no longer carried weight. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she struggled to find stable work, that Daniel vanished the moment his firm imploded, that she moved into a smaller apartment and kept mostly to herself. I didn't feel joy in her downfall, I felt clarity. The truth is, revenge wasn't the map, the lawyer, or even the divorce. The real revenge was silence. It was walking away with dignity while she was left staring at the pattern of her own lies. Now, when people ask about my marriage, I don't tell them the details. I just smile and say, some maps show you where you are, others show you where not to go again, and that's enough.